Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
As we go off the start line, and we are in with the riders as they move through this. Low category 2, Vink has just gone off the front on category 1. I was thinking we were going to see this group come together and ride together during this transition stage, but Vink is having none of it.
So we've got Ollie Jones, interestingly, joining Vink up the road. Now, Vink went down the road. Jones has joined him. We don't normally see Jones this early, but look at this. They've got 3 seconds. Jones and Vink on the climb. It will rise, it will dip, and then we're into the final climb section. And here we go. Vink goes over the top. 11 watts per kilo as he goes over. So it's 11 watts per kilo. Jones responds. He's at 10.5. And Jones is coming at pace, but has he got an answer to Vink? Vink is at the front here. Here comes the gantry. Who's going to take it? Michael Vink has beaten his teammate. He's going to take the bragging rights. He's leading the team home. Michael Vink takes the win. And welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with me, Matt Payne. We're in qualifier number 1, and we are all ready for our race start. The question is, who is going to be joining us? Well, joining me in the studio, it is Professor Emma Martin. Emma, welcome.
Welcome, Matt. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the MyWhoosh world.
So great to see that we've got Emma down here. We had a great final, didn't we, Emma?
Yeah, we did indeed. It was absolutely outstanding, as you saw from the rewind. You know, Vink and Jones went clear, and boy, did they battle for that 1-2 finish. And then, you know what? The team race was absolutely outstanding as well, with Pavlovas and Waffles absolutely dominating the racing last week. It was an absolutely fantastic Cat 1 race and an outstanding Cat 2 race between Team Italy B and the Global United Whooshers as well.
Indeed it was, and looking forward to seeing just what happens as we make our way onwards from here. We've got a great course coming up, and Emma, take us through some of this course, because it's one we've used before, isn't it?
It is one we've used before, but the men's race has not been on this course since Qualifier 3 in August, earlier on this summer. So the course today, 44.4 kilometres, 550 metres of climbing over a 5-lap course. Yep, you've heard it. What you see in front of you at the moment, we do 5 times. So 8.9 kilometres per lap, 4 main climbs per lap. That equals 20 climbs in this race today. They're not long, between 400 metres and 800 metres in length. They're not that steep, with 2.5% to 4.1% average gradient, but they just keep coming. This is going to suit a punchy rider.
It is indeed, and it's one of those courses, isn't it, Emma, where it's incessantly going to be attacking. It suits our aggressive team. So the UAE clan team are going to be looking to come back. They didn't have the greatest of finals last week, but they are usually really aggressive when we come into the final. However, Waffles, the Belgian Waffles squad, the Yorkshire Pudding Express, the Danish Pavlova squad are really, really strong. Good to see we've got Kashmir in here as well. We've got our World Elite Zwift as the team I said, and next PB Insured join us. But really the strong squads in the racing today: Pavlova, Yorkshire Pudding Express, Belgian Waffles, the UAE clan team, and a lot of individual riders as well, Emma.
Yeah, so 62 riders today in this Category 1 race, Matt, 8 teams, and we're seeing some of our Category 2 riders progress and move into the Category 1, so it's going to be really good to see how those riders who are being lifted up race today.
So here we go into Category 2, next category down, and UAE Falcons, the battlers, along with Cycle Zone 1, are back now. Hassan Al-Ramethri always puts in a great fight for the UAE Falcons. Great to watch him. He's got some good teammates in there as well. The battlers, of course, new team in here in terms of Heath Eckersley, Mike Phillips, and Jack Staples. Going to see how they get on. We've got Hubbard's Renegades in the DS team as well. But again, another big pack of riders, and maybe a little bit better chance in theory, because okay, there's big numbers in there again, but we've got some of the hot riders who've moved up.
We have seen those riders move up, but there's 55 riders in Category 2 today, 6 teams as we've gone through. And again, some new riders. It's fantastic to see in Category 1, Category 2 and Category 3 today, brand new riders to the Sunday Race Club.
So welcome to them. And in Category 3, UAE Road Warriors are back once again. Mohammed bin Hamdan in there. We're going to see if Henzo or Murad are going to be able to take this on. Team Strikers, big representation. Morris Bill, Jason Bellard and Lam in there. And, of course, the global team in as well with Kamse is going to be able to take it. And good to see Jared Koken coming back. We've got Diego Molina in there, Mendoza in there, a real mix of riders. And really nice to see that we've got people who are riding as partners. So we've got like the men's riders in the men's race and the women in the women's race.
Yeah, it is a big family, this, as we're really close to the start line. So away we go from the start line for our first Sunday Race Club in October, as the riders go straight off the start line onto the first climb of the day.
And on this course, it is straight up that climb. It is basically a kick from the line, and these riders should be used to it. We're riding in with Jakob Björklund. Björklund, of course, absolutely flying. Last week, he was one of the riders who we saw right in the mix, but we're going to see how they get on as we're jumping across. Now in with Alexei Kalman. Kalman, one of those riders who put in a great result last time around. Going to be interesting to see how Kalman gets on this time around.
Yeah, so we are in with this front lead pack, and it looks to be a long spread of riders over this first 500 metres of this climb. So this start today, straight up, straight out, and pulling these riders, as you can see in that right-hand corner of your screen. There's a long tail of yellow, green and blue riders and jerseys as we progress. What into now is the downhill.
It's so quick, isn't it? This course, it's up, down, up, down, up, down, boom, boom, boom. It's really quick. It's really aggressive, and that's what we want to see on the Sunday Race Club. If you haven't watched the racing in the finals, make sure you jump on and watch it back. It really is some amazing racing and some great riding. I was so impressed with how the riders battled it out last week. I'm hoping we're going to get exactly the same this week. I'm sure we will, particularly when we've got riders like Mitch Ferry in here. I'm a really aggressive rider and a rider who always likes to take it on for the front and really put in some digs for that Yorkshire Pudding Express team.
Yeah, in fact, Mitch Ferry last time rode exceptionally well on this course map back in August. You know, Vujasin, Ferry, Vink, Knudsen, Graves and Jones. That was the 1 through till 6. And they went into the finish line as a group last time, and only 1 second separated the top 6 on this course last time out.
And that says everything, doesn't it? It really is tough stuff when you've got those riders at the front really ripping it up. Still a good representation of group, but Category 2 riders in here. But as we move on to the second part of this climb, we're now starting to come up on this elevated roadway here today in the Bahrain route. And that means that this climb is an opportunity to put the pressure on. Top right-hand side of your screen, you can see that overhead map view. At the moment, it's zoomed right out. And as we hit 7%, you can see that there is a long train of riders now up on this roadway. So 6.8% at the moment. Our riders continuing to kick up towards the top of this climb. It's a long way up and it's doing damage. We're starting to see some splits behind our riders as we see the leaders go. We're in with SS from that UAE clan team, and the clan team is starting to push once again up towards the front. We're going to look to see how many of their riders have managed to take, not just to the start, but are able to actually push and take on the racing up on the front. Alexei Kalman along with Simon Cutler in this mix. Cutler, of course, another of that Yorkshire Pudding Express who are up and kicking. Good to see we've got Martin Martins, for me, a rider who is likely to figure, but hasn't maybe got the results he deserves so far.
No, and you can see from the shot we've got in front of us here at the moment, we've got still, I'm counting around at least 25 riders in this front group still. And we've got a big pack of Category 1 riders in those yellow jerseys, interspersed with the front end of the Category 2 race, which are the riders we can see in those green jerseys in this group at the moment.
And that, for me, is really key, isn't it? It's so much about staying in the pack as long as you physically can.
Yeah, it is indeed. And let's not forget, the safest place and the easiest place is in the middle of a pack where you can take the draft. And you can see the difference in the numbers on the top left-hand side of your screen. The black numbers of what indicate the rider has no draft. When they turn green, it indicates the rider is benefiting from a draft. So when we drop in with those riders in the middle of that pack, those numbers are going to be green, and they're going to be getting a slightly easier ride than the riders out on the front.
Well, just seeing as our drone manages to zip through those feather flags. I wish I could do that with my drone in real life. The riders coming up and around the turn now. Right-hand side of your screen, Vink 24th and just about hanging on to the coattails of the pack. The group, as Emma said, over 20 riders strong still, but still a representation of Category 2 riders. Just see Mr. G join on the back there. I think that's going to make it 25. And one of those riders who's been promoted, Tom Gakes, now up into Category 1 and out and riding, interestingly, in the front group.
Yeah, and let's not forget those front-end riders from that Category 2 race, Matt, are normally somewhere in the front group for normally at least, a good proportion of the race. It's not till we normally get to the latter stages when the Category 1 riders really put the power down that those Category 2 riders come out of that front group. In fact, hanging on to that front group for as long as possible, a little bit more each week and a little bit more each week, brings our Category 2 riders on to the benefit of themselves so that they then do move up like the likes of Gakes and Heining have done this time.
So watching the riders here up at the front of the pack, you can see that the riders are working in really well. They're trying to get themselves into position now. The chasing group behind are working hard to try and close the gaps down. But Jason Osborne on the front here, I mean, world-class pro. Absolutely class rider and Olympic medalist.
Well, you say that, Matt. He was also the esports world champion in 2020.
Indeed.
So, absolutely world-class pro Osborne. And this course, I think should suit him down to the ground, really. It is up, down, power on, power off, power on, power off. And let's not forget, we are 4.5 kilometres into a 44.4 kilometre race, and we are already on climb 3 of the day.
So the 10% of the course done. There you go. That's my maths done for the day. 10% of the course done so far. I really do work in things I can count with the digits on my hand, that's for sure. So over a tenth of the course done. Our pack of what is 23 riders now, with Giuliano up at the back of that group. Still got a number of our second category riders in with our first category riders there, and really does show, doesn't it, that these riders are putting the power down at the right time. They're learning how to ride the course, because this initial part, this first 10, maybe 15% is key. How far would you hang on to that group? Would you literally go until you were exhausted, Emma, and then drop back? When do you call that when you're out and racing?
Well, it's a really good question, isn't it, Matt? Me personally, it would depend on the nature of the course for me personally. If I knew there was a big climb coming at the end, then I might choose a different tactic to how I might ride this course. This particular course with the short, sharp punches, I would be hanging in there as long as possible and taking on as much benefit as possible for that front group to pull me and take me as far as they can, and for me to benefit from such a large group of 20 plus riders for as long as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's tricky, isn't it? Because you don't want to lose too much ground. But if you go too far in the red, you can be dropped so far back that you really end up in trouble. And interesting, we're running in here with Alexei Kalman. Kalman, the rider who raced last week for the Team SZ squad. He was 16th last week, up in the pack and in the mix. So clearly making himself at home at the front of the race. He's one of our regular riders up at the front. This is Knudsen, who took, at the moment, it's an unconfirmed result. He's currently fourth from last week for Michael Knudsen. But don't forget, he's got seconds all the way through, first, thirds. He's a rider who can win. He can take top 2, top 3, top 4, top 5 positions. Kalman looking to do the same, and again pushing right onto the front, maybe doing a little bit too much work here, and that's the difficult thing. You've got to make sure you get the balance right between doing enough work and not doing too much.
Yeah, and we talked about tactics and understanding the race and understanding the road. We talked before about putting too much power down as you're moving through onto the back of the pack and snowballing over the front of the pack, and actually learning to adjust and respond to power to make sure you're in the position you want to be in on MyWhoosh is really, really important. Understanding the algorithm, and that's what riding is all about. You need to ride these platforms, you need to ride these courses, you need to understand the tactics, and you need to understand how and where to put the power in and where to come off the power, and how to use momentum and those types of things on these courses as well. And all of that takes time. And the more and more these riders learn, and the more and more these riders progress, some of these have been doing it for years, and you can see them use the technique, and they're absolutely fantastic. Others, you just have to keep going, and you just learn as you do.
Well, just in with group number 2 here, Hassan Al-Ramethri, a rider who's taken wins in the finals for category number 2 in our July finals. Hassan, a rider who's got wins in qualifying races as well for category 2 in this big chasing. This is pack number 2 on the road. So this is essentially the riders from about 25 are running right the way down to about 40 in there. They're on the right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side of your screen, SS ripping it up on the front for the UAE clan team, continuing to push hard and really making this racing hard for everybody on the left-hand side of your screen. And you can just see SS continuing to kick here as they roll over the top. And the UAE clan team don't look to have the strength in depth and numbers that they've had previously. And last week, I think they missed a couple of key riders. Not just Mistakes 100, their row captain, who I think really does sort of keep them all motivated going in the right direction. But also, we saw issues for Said Safrazad, didn't we?
We did, and we saw the team respond to those issues. Safrasad's issues were straight off the start line, but we saw the team try and respond with Mirza going back to wait for his team member, and then to try and work together to pull him forward. And in waiting, Mirza missed that front group and those really early attacks which came in that final at the end of September. And in that moment, the team really, really struggled, and they really lost momentum in that race. And to be honest, within the first 5 kilometres of that race, that had caused all the damage to the UAE clan team.
I know, and it's not like them, because we have seen them come back from that before, but it has been on flatter courses with a big kick towards the end, where you can use that team power together and really work together to pull forward to the front, effectively like a team time trial to close down that front group and to work. And that's not as easy on a course like this, which rolls so much as it does. Now we're on 8.4 kilometers covered at the moment. We are on our run in towards the finishing line for the end of lap number 1 of 5. And this means that this is the first time this week, or should I say this Sunday, that our riders have gone to have a look at the line. Quick reminder though, you can jump on. You not only jump on and race, you can come on and ride and get the practice in on the Bahrain World on MyWhoosh. Make sure that you download the app. It's on www.mywhoosh.com. You can use iOS, you can use Android, or of course on a Windows system. So make sure you jump on, download it, come on and join us. Come and join me on a ride. I'm regularly out on there, turning my legs around, getting a kick in off the very quick riders, and occasionally getting to get my own little tiny moment of glory as I go for the sign sprint. It's a bit like sprinting with my local village sign at home. It's never the overall glory, but I'm going to revel in what I can get these days.
Yeah, so the riders have just gone under the end of lap 1 banner, and for those eagle-eyed of you who will have noticed, it was an uphill finish that time as we moved on to the first climb of lap 2. And the first climb of lap 2 technically starts just before the end of lap 1, so it really is going to be an interesting finish as we come into that on lap 5 of this race today. But the riders have now had a good look at it. In fact, they're going to get a look at it another 1, 2, 3 times before they go into it on the finish. So they will really know the finish line and where it comes and the tactics they want to use to win the race.
And what we're seeing here, Emma, we're seeing this group thin down, aren't we? I mean, we are looking at a group that started off on lap 1. It was a big pack. It went down to 25, went down to 22, 23 riders. That has continued onwards on that leading group. And you can see that it is still a lot of class riders. We're seeing almost predominantly. I'm looking to see if we've got a single rider in there in a green jersey. I don't think we have. I think every single one of our Category 2 riders have felt the pressure and dropped back. And now we see the first of our Category 2 riders. I think there was Angarita there that just flashed up on our screens. That's the lead of Category 2, but there are a big spread of riders, and there are Category 1 riders right the way down into the 30s and 40 positions here. Not everybody having a great race on the front. Some riders, of course, coming back up from injury and illness and so on, so it does make a difference.
It does indeed, and you're right, Matt. This is the type of course where we would expect, we talked about Category 2 riders hanging in that front bunch for as long as possible. But the power that these Category 1 riders can put out on each of those climbs will just be relentless. You know, if you're regularly going up to 6, 7, 8 watts per kilo, which is what the front end of this race is, time and time again, up, down, up, down, up, down. You know, our Category 2 riders will be able to hang in, as we've seen during the first lap. But realistically, the relentless nature of this course is now starting to take its toll as we see a strong, large Category 1 group come together.
Indeed, and that Category 1 group just seeing the attacks go up the road. We've seen Bjarhead and Ferry, along with Bjorkland, all mixing it up on the front. SS are chasing well as well, so it looks to me like SS just going on to the heels. This bridge, this long climb out of here, having ridden on this on MyWhoosh regularly, this is actually one of my favourite courses to ride rather than race, because it gives you that sort of kick, rest, kick, rest, kick, rest. I like doing that. I don't like doing the long efforts. Really is showing to me that this bridge, this part for me is critical. It comes immediately after the start. It comes immediately at the end of a lap, but it really does test the riders. And this, of course, is 700 meters worth of climbing. So that does make a big, big difference. It's not super long.
It's not. None of these climbs are super long. You know, the next climb coming up is the longest, 800 meters. You know, and none of them are super steep. The biggest average gradient, 4.1%, but we saw that climb go up to about 6, 7%. They are not mega steep. We've seen 12, 13, 14% gradient on some of the other courses that we've raced on the Sunday Race Club. But as we said, they just keep coming. That was climb number 6. You know, so slowly these riders are ticking it off. And actually between this climb and the next climb, this is actually the longest transition section that these riders have got. And it's not long. But it is the longest that they've got at around 2 kilometers. So the downhill and then the run in to the next climb is a little bit of a break for these riders, because let's be realistic, every other climb that they do, it's by the time they get down, they're almost starting to go up again.
And I think for me that the way this course rides and it rolls, it suits a certain rider, it suits a type of body shape and rider as well. But there's always exceptions. That's what I love about riding. You know, you see riders of lots of different body shapes taking it on. You can be a really tall rider who's uber lean. You can be a punchier, stronger, stockier rider. And I think this course, there are little bits for everybody where everyone can put in the pressure. Everybody can put in an attack. Everybody can put in a point where they are going to excel, and somebody else is going to feel the pressure that's been applied by them, and is going to feel the pace, is going to feel it in the legs, in the lungs, and they're going to question, can they stay with the pace? And the reverse is true. Somebody's going to do that to you somewhere out around this course. So it really is one of the harder courses, I think, because of that. And it's also, for me, I think it shows Category 1 all at the front.
Yeah, but it pits very different riders with very different skill sets against each other, as we actually see this start to stretch out now as they start to approach climb number 7, and the gradient will soon start to kick again. But look there, we've got a pull and a stretch on this group. But this group, Matt, have got esports specialists in it. It's got triathletes in it. It's got MTB elite riders in it. It's got, you know, Ironman World Cup riders in it. It has got such a wide variety of backgrounds that have brought all of these riders to esports and to the Sunday Race Club. And the different courses that we ride each week, it's so interesting to see them pit very different riders against each other to see who comes out on top.
Indeed, and I think one of the things we see here, I mean, we talk about Jason Osborne being a world class, road rider on here. We've got Lionel Justin up here. We've got Michael Knudsen. They're all on the attack. They're all being aggressive. You've got SS jumping in and out of this mix. You've got Graves in the mix as well. Everybody coming up, coming together, breaking apart, coming together. There isn't a break. There isn't a rest on this, and you can't relax. And that's true whether you are a Category 1 rider racing it out for the very front of the race, whether you're a Category 2 rider battling it out with Category 1 riders around you, whether you're a Category 3 rider who's just fighting to get your fastest time on the course. You're going to do that by staying in a group, by getting that draft. And this course will make you better. It will make you better, and we're seeing that with riders moving up through the categories week on week.
Yeah, but look at that in front of us, Matt. We're now seeing this group start to stretch as they go up this climb. But it's really interesting, isn't it? We are into lap 2 now. We're well and truly into lap 2 of a 5-lap race now. But these riders are nowhere near their limit. We're in with Michael Vink at the moment. We've just been in with Jason Osborne. The heart rates that the information is telling us on the top left-hand side of the screen tells me these riders are working, but they are nowhere near their maximum effort at the moment. So I'm expecting the latter laps of this race to get a lot more exciting and to get a lot more attacks going on, because at the moment, looking at this, you've still got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, I reckon, at a quick count there. Category 1 riders in there. The prize money goes to 5th place. You don't want to take 16 riders into the finish lap together. And to be honest, every single one of these riders in this front pack is capable of making the top 5 today.
Indeed they are, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see who is able to push this on. It's going to take some doing, because why would you want to attack too much? You're going to burn a lot of energy. Why are you not going to sit in a little bit? But what I love is that everybody seems to go for it. I mean, we saw last week, and you saw it on the rewind, Ollie Jones out early doors, really attacking and really kicking on there. And we're seeing that again. They're trying to put people in trouble behind them. They're trying to distance riders at the back of this group. So at the moment, we're in with Jason Osborne, but we've got a real mixed group. It's good to see that we've got Matthias Svensson up there as well, one of our riders coming in and across, and a huge contingent of riders from Scandinavia. So we're seeing Denmark, we're seeing Sweden, we're seeing Norwegian riders coming in. The Swedes particularly strong on this.
Yeah, and it's also interesting to look on the start list today. New riders from New Zealand and Australia as well. So, in terms of opposite sides of the world, it is really interesting to see who makes up our start list.
And that's one of the joys of being on MyWhoosh, and of course being on the community as well. So don't forget, you can jump onto the pages on Facebook. That's MyWhoosh on there. It's MyWhoosh on Instagram. Some great stories as well on there. Some great videos as well coming out. Jeff and the team on there, and of course we've got our featured bikes as well as the featured kit. And actually, you can see one of our featured Colnagas just going up off the front there at the moment with Tim Cutler, but Cutler quickly getting rolled over the top here. So we're going to see. So Cutler goes over the top of Graves. Sorry, it was with that bike, and you can just see these different bikes and all that personalization you can do when you're in the ride. A little bit disappears when we go racing, because of course we have our Category 1 riders in the yellow jerseys, the Category 2 in the green, and Category 3 in the blue. But the racing at the moment, the lead pack going clear, continuing to push, trying to break away any of those weaker riders, to fragment them off the back and not give them the chance to come on, or if they do, make them burn a lot of energy, really put them into the red when they're coming on. And we can see the gaps now that are opening up here. 17th place, Jakob Björklund has lost contact, 11 seconds down on that leading group. It looks like Skettering in trouble. And this looks like Osborne, who's just gone over the top of Björklund. I'm just going to double check, but I think that is going to be Osborne. It is who's gone over the top. So Jason Osborne dispatched off the back. An issue for Osborne. That could be interesting as we move in here. And I think the group have realised it with the camera panning back there, because we're not on a big climb, but look at the gang go.
Yeah, I think they've gone, oh my goodness, we didn't realise. And that is one of the things, isn't it? When you've got a large group of 15, 16, 17 riders and you can't see all the information on that right-hand bottom element of the screen in front of you, which is what our racers are also looking at, viewers. You know, you don't notice if someone's gone to the back of the group to take a rest and recovery, or whether they are off the back of the group and actually have an issue like Osborne. So the camera panning back and letting the riders know what's going on behind them has enlightened the group, I think, with a little bit of va-va-voom to try and make sure Osborne doesn't get back on.
Well, let's see who's got va-va-voom and who's going to go boom, 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 because I think at the moment our leading group has well and truly split. This is going to be a key moment in the racing here on MyWhoosh. All of a sudden, some of the hot favourites out of the back in trouble. The group splitting. And now, as we're making our way around back into Bahrain, we're going to be heading back in towards the end of the lap. It is going to be interesting to see who makes contact again, who is still left in that leading group. It is all left to play for out there. Remember, top 5 riders in each of our categories. Category 1, 2, 3. All getting prize money here today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, live with me, Matt Pate, and with Professor Emma Martin here. And you can see as they come in, that group working well. Emma, coming up to the end of lap number 2, I think.
We are indeed. We are just starting the climb that signifies the end of lap 2. And as the riders come round this sweeping left-hand bend, they should see that gantry in front of them. In fact, look at that. There they do. 3 laps to go as they take on this climb now, which signifies the start of lap 3.
And I think we are now looking at 15, maybe 16 riders in that group by my reckoning, in touch with lots of riders, not all that far behind, just in 1s and 2 seconds. But I think at the moment it is definitely a case of put the pressure on. Remember, this is a 44.4 kilometer race, 5 laps of the Bahrain route on MyWhoosh, and that means that these riders know that they are just over 2/5 of the way, or 40% in my very rudimentary maths. In fact, you can see our lap there. Emma, this profile, if we were to put these all together and put 5 of these together, it'd be a very sawtooth type profile, wouldn't it?
It would, but what's really interesting, Matt, is some of the other courses that we use for the racing have 200-300 meters more climbing than we're going to see today on this course. In fact, one of the more traditional courses that we use has a very long climb at the end, which has a hilltop finish. And actually, all these bumps and lumps don't equate to the same climbing distance, but it does create a very different race because it is an on-off, on-off, on-off race, rather than relying on a pack coming into the bottom of a 15-minute climb and then utilising a 15-minute power range to actually get to the top first.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, we were at Wollongong on one of the new worlds in Australia, another route and another world you can ride on MyWhoosh. Jump on and join us. Lots of social rides. We've got the My Bunch rides as well as Battle the Bot rides. And our riders regularly on there. Interesting, we're in with Hassan Al-Ramethri at the moment. He's in that group at the moment, that green jersey pack that are chasing the leaders who are about 30 seconds up the road in that green jersey group. So Caligula, Maglio, Giuliano and Garita up the road. They have got work to do to stay clear of Hassan Al-Ramethri. So the right-hand side of your screen is group 3 on the road. The left-hand side of your screen is group 1. Sandwiched in between are the leaders of group 2. And this is why, if you're in a road race, your director sportif, your DS, will be sat there with the TV screen rolling in the car next to them. They're watching the live images coming from the cameras as well as getting the information from the riders. And a lot of the riders will be doing the same. And in fact, when you go to something like the Esports World Championship, you will see a team around the riders. You don't just have that rider sat on that bike. You will have somebody there who is DSing, who's doing the tactics, doing the check-in. We talked extensively, in fact, to a rider that we know very well, April Tacey, winner of the very first esports stages on the Tour de France for women on esports. And that was really enlightening because she said it was her brother, in fact, who was beside her, tutoring her, telling her about the timing, making sure she kicked at the right time, making sure that she used her energy and used the tools at her disposal wisely and watched for breaks as well. And that was absolutely key. In fact, she took two stages, and a rider who we know is very strong. And it's the same true on all of the esports championships. It's not just one rider there.
Yeah, very, very replicable of all walks of cycling. You know, it's whilst you might just see the individual rider on your screen or have a favorite individual rider, it is not just about them alone. It is not just about the team of riders. It's the team and support around them as well, which is so important. So we are here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. We are on lap 3 of a 5-lap race as we are watching Michael Vinck putting down the power as we've gone over the top of what was the 10th climb of a 20-climb race. This is short, sharp climbing today. Climbs between 400 and 800 metres in length, 2.5 to 4.1% average gradient. And they just keep coming. By the time you drop off the side of one of them, you're going straight into the next climb and up and over.
And at the front of the race, Michael Vinck and Phil Graves with SS. So it's Vinck with the shaven head, it's Graves with the red hair, and it's SS with the black helmet. 3 riders have gone clear behind. Johan Noren, Tim Cutler, Mitch Ferry, Michael Knudsen are in there. But remember that Ferry is a teammate of Graves, so is Cutler. You've got riders who are not necessarily going to chase them down. Vinck's teammate is Knudsen back there. He's not going to chase either. And in fact, I think then if you add into the mix the fact that the UAE clan team are diminished at the moment, you're going to find things getting very, very interesting because that gap starts to grow. Who's going to do the chasing? Osborne's not going to chase down Vinck. Knudsen's not going to chase down Vinck. Cutler's not going to chase down Graves. Neither is Ferry. You've got a group of 3 who could ride clear here.
And let's be realistic, Matt. It is an outstanding group of 3 riders that we have watched make the race action week after week. And as we can see now, as we approach this sweeping left-hand bend, you know, Vinck, Graves and SS are round the corner. And on this shot, we cannot see the group behind. They have opened what looks to be a 7 to 8 second gap on that group behind. But to be honest, well, I don't know. I'm looking at the moment. Knudsen seems to have decided he's had enough and wants to catch the group because Knudsen is currently kicking out 10 watts per kilo as he tries. But I'm not seeing a huge response from everybody else around him. But who knows? I'm not sure at the moment this is going to stay away.
Well, Lionel Vujassin, I think, has animated the chase along with Johan Noren. I think they are the riders on here. So, yep, Noren, Vujassin have instigated the chase. And I think Knudsen, rather than wanting to close the gap down, has responded to this. And I think, for me, that is the key thing here. As the chase has gone, Knudsen's responding. And it's all going to be these subtle little differences. You never chase a teammate down, but you definitely go with the riders. Let's see how they keep on going as these 3 keep on going clear. Remember, that time gap, it's hovering between 5 and 10 seconds at the moment. This, for me, is going to be absolutely critical. Can these 3 stay away? I'm definitely hoping they are going to be rolling.
Okay, so we are in with SS as this group of 3 continue to push on, and Vinck is pushing on the pace as we see these 3 move forward. The chase is coming from behind. Osborne, who had an issue and had fallen off the pack at the front of this race, has got back on and closed the gap, gone back in, and is now making some pace and making some decisions at the front of this pack to try and bring these 3 back. So we are in with SS on the left-hand side of your screen. We're in with Jason Osborne in the chasing group on the right-hand side of your screen. And we are watching this group try and close this leading group of 3 as we see Graves, Vinck and SS push on. They are continuing to work at 23.5 kilometres travelled. They are now approaching the final climb of lap 3 of a 5-lap race. So Matt, this is getting really interesting now. We have 2 laps to go. We have a lead group of 3, and we have a chasing group who haven't given up that chase yet. They're 6 seconds behind the leading 3. So this is now going to get really interesting, I think.
It is, and Osborne just starting to make some ground inroads into that group. But you've got Vajasi Knudsen, Bart van den Eekhout, and maybe Johan in that sort of mix. Then a bit further back, you've got another sort of chasing group with about 10, 11 seconds down. It's fracturing behind, and if these 3 can keep the pressure on enough to whittle those groups down to 2s and 3s, they're on a par. If there's a chasing group of 5, 8, 10 riders versus 3, that your money's on the 10 riders. But these 3 have put enough pressure in that the group behind is breaking. And I think there's maybe 6 or 7 riders behind in one group. If it comes together, and I think it's just about to do that, Jason Osborne coming up, he's going to come back across. But at the moment, it's Vink, SS, and Graves. And I think at the moment, as they come up the climb, they are our leaders a little bit further back. That group behind, the composition of that is going to be critical. So here we go. It's going to take a look. I'm hoping our camera will spin round and look backwards in group number 2. You never know. We've got to hope. Here we go. Look at that. If only I could do that with lottery numbers. So you can just see that group has come back together, and behind them, no one has come back. So this is really interesting here for me, because we've got a group that is twice the size of our leaders. In theory, they should be able to close down the leading 3. But remember, they've got teammates in here. Knudsen in the group. You've got Cutler in this group. You've got Osborne in this group. They're not going to chase the teammates down.
Well, we are, we are in, and it's so interesting, isn't it? Because I think this is a type of course we are seeing at the moment, the front of the race at 25.1 kilometres travelled. They are coming up to the end of this lap. I think this is all going to come down to how the riders ride this course as to whether this group is going to come back, how much recovery this lead group want, and how much they utilise the downhills for recovery versus how much the chasing group push on during the downhills to try and close the gap. And I think we've seen that before, haven't we, where the chasing group make the catch because they're still pushing on at 6 watts per kilo, whilst the front group are taking some recovery at 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5 watts per kilo, and that closes a small gap. But who knows what these riders are going to do? They are all outstanding, and this gap at the moment is hanging around 7, 8 seconds, and it's not changing.
It's not, and that is due to the power and the pace being applied by Michael Vink, by Phil Graves, and by SS here. SS, who rides up for the UAE clan team. Phil Graves, part of that Yorkshire Pudding Express team. And, of course, Michael Vink, one of our Danish Pavlova squad. The Danish Pavlova squad, so strong, winners of the finals in September, in July, in June and May. The UAE clan team winners the August final, 2nd in July, 2nd in May, 4th in June. And the Yorkshire Pudding Express, 3rd in September, in July, in June, in May, and a 4th place in August. You are talking the top teams here in our finals, and that is showing, and that is why these riders are here. You don't get in those teams because you ride like a donkey. You are a pure thoroughbred racehorse if you are going to make these teams.
Yeah, it is, isn't it, Matt? These are absolutely class riders. We've seen in this race the lead group go from 25 to 23. They've gone down to 16 as more have whittled away. The group then went to around 10 riders. We've now got a lead group of 3 with a chasing group of 7. As we go under that banner on lap 3 and we start lap 4. So 2 more laps to go.
So here we go. 2 laps to go. The chase is on the way in here. They have a gap to close. Can they do so? I think it is a big ask. A little bit further in front, you can just see Graves and Co. threading their way through. And one of the things I always love about racing on a multi-lap circuit is if you're not having a great day, if you're maybe just doing a ride to keep those legs turning, you want to join a group. I often will jump into a race when I'm not actually going to race it, but when I'm going to go do maybe an interval effort or a session. And what that will mean is that I will go and actually be able to watch the racing happening as the riders come past. And for me, that's really important sometimes, that actually you still get that buzz, you still get the feel, even when your legs don't want to race, when your lungs don't want to race, or maybe you've just done a really hard training week or similar. You just want to be in, you don't want to lose that buzz.
Well, and also let's not forget, Matt, these riders need to qualify if they want to race the finals, and you don't actually have to race full bore to make the qualification. You just need to be part and parcel of the race. You need to have a verified result. And then you will qualify if you ride 2 out of the 3 for the final. And the final, of course, isn't just an individual event, though it is also a team event, and being part and parcel of the team really, really counts in that final round each month.
It does indeed. So now we are in with our leaders. They've established this gap. It's starting to go out. It's showing on screens at the moment at 18, 19 seconds. We're going to let that stabilize out a little bit further back down the course. We're just in with our rider. This is Pinto in what looks to be 13th place, and it shows you just how big the gap is. It seems a long time ago we were watching our leaders go underneath that gantry and out onto their lap. Our Category 2 riders and Category 3 riders are competing, of course. Don't forget, of course, all of those results will be up on the website at the end of the race and into the forthcoming weeks. And, of course, all very, very interesting, reading from the watts per kilo right the way through to the average heart rate, to how our riders performed on the way through. These 3, though, are star performers, and it looks to have stabilized around about that 15 to 25 seconds at the moment, Emma. And that for me means that these 3 are in with a very good chance. If they can hit 30 to 45 seconds with a lap to go, I'll put you an ice cream on it. Matt's infamous ice cream bets are already taking place here.
Yeah, and if you are watching the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for the first time, don't forget it's not too late to register for October and join in the October qualification rounds and qualify for the October finals. So if you are interested, I would strongly recommend head to the MyWhoosh YouTube channel, watch some of the races back, get to see what it's all about, then head over to mywhoosh.com, download the app if you haven't already done, ride on MyWhoosh. Take a look at the events page, take a look at how to sign up for an event. You need to register 12 hours minimum before the event. You also need to read the technical guide, the rule sets, and all the requirements to make sure you get a verified ride at the end of the day.
And what I would say is, as a race organizer, put your entries in early. It does make life simple for 2 reasons. One, it allows the team more time to get everything done. We, in the commentary team, we need a little bit of lead time. We don't always get as much. In fact, we never ever get as much as we like. We actually had quite a lot of time today compared to some days, but we're always on the hook for more time. But more importantly, the team behind the scenes are going to be working to make sure you're verified, make sure that you're getting those performances. They've got more time to help you if you've got any questions and queries if you enter early. And don't forget, of course, by entering early, you don't forget and miss the cutoff, which has happened to just about everybody at some point in time.
Yep, I will hold my hand up and say the first time I raced on MyWhoosh, I missed the cut-off for the weigh-in video that needs to be submitted before you take to the start line. Well, it's one of those things, isn't it? You just need to be a little bit planned, a little bit in advance. It's something you only do once. But, if you are new to it, which is why I strongly recommend, go on early if you're thinking about it. Take a look, take a register, do the riding, start to feel the platform. All of those types of things are really important, but it is great fun and a great way to do some activity on a wet Sunday, a cold Sunday, or a Sunday that is so hot you don't want to go outdoors.
Indeed, and we've got to remember that is going to be the case all around the world. I mean, the temperature down in the Emirati is incredibly hot indeed. Middle of the day, it's talking like 40 degrees. That's the sort of temperature where you're not going to put a great performance in unless you can keep cool. So that cooling, that fan, that drop in that temperature is going to be really important there. And even if you're somebody, I mean, Tom Gates, I think, definitely looking warmer. Tom, actually, we jump on one of his feeds quite regularly and watch his videos back. Tom looking like he's pretty warm at the moment from what I can see. But I got to say, I love the fact that there's people all around the world and racing. And you do see little differences because riders prefer to race in certain temperatures. I don't mind riding and racing if it's really hot if I have plenty of time to acclimatise. But That's not the same for everybody. Some people just can't function over a certain temperature.
Yeah, and what has been fantastic, you mentioned, don't you, that in fact we can actually see Tom Gakes in the studio here, currently based in the Netherlands, but putting his feed out. And what's been fantastic is the riders sharing their pain caves, Matt, and where they are set up and where they are riding and racing from. Some of them set up outdoors on the patio with the beautiful views of the garden. Some of them set up indoors in new flats. And I really love that. So if you are interested in sharing information about where you are riding and racing today, please do feel free to tag us in on your social media feed and give us an update around what you're doing and where you're at, or drop us a line. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Biking Emma. You can find Matt. Where can we find you?
Mine is at Matt Fixer Paint on Facebook, on Strava, on MyWhoosh as well. And of course, you can get hold of us at Full Speed Events as well. Don't forget, of course, if you go onto Facebook, there is the MyWhoosh's indoor cycling platform. Great to see lots of the pictures going on there as well. And don't forget, make sure you tag in MyWhoosh, Full Speed Events, Biking Emma, and Matt Fixer Paint on all of your social media posts. The more we see, the more we read. Not only the more we have to talk about, but it keeps us entertained as well. You never know. If you're really unlucky, Emma will get a picture of me actually riding in my pain cave, which is also doubles up as a studio on an occasion. You might look very familiar to some people. Also, might even get one of Emma's setup, which is far better than mine, to be fair.
So we are in with the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and in front of us you can take a look. We have 3 riders out front. We are 31.3 kilometres travelled on a 44.4 kilometre race. We are currently on lap 4 of 5 laps as we are in now with Michael Knudsen. This group, this chase group of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders are chasing the lead group of 3. SS, Graves and Vink are down the road with a 37-second gap to the chase group. We jump in really quickly there now with Philip Graves, Michael Vink and SS as they move through, now actually well far up the road, 32.3 kilometres travelled of this group. So they are now up and over I'm trying to count 13, 14, 15. 15 climbs they have.
There's so many on this route.
They are indeed. 15 climbs that front pack of 3 have now done as they move into the 16th climb of today with 4 left to go. Look at that in front of you. That is 1 lap in front of you, viewers. 1 lap of a 5-lap race. It is constant. And it is difficult to keep tabs on where our riders are today. I've done the maths, I've done the kilometres, and we are trying to keep track of this for you.
So our riders on the way through, our leading 3 riders. This is the front of the race. This is group number 1. We've talked about group number 2. They were sat around about that 25-second mark. Group number 2, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen here, this is the nearest riders. They're now over 30 seconds down, and they have been approaching the 40-second mark at that point at which where the distance will be key to the finish. Now, our leaders, 3 leaders that are coming rocketing in and around. On the left of your screen, on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the chasing. That is group number 2 on the road. But we are seeing small groups forming. And as we've just seen our riders lap, I think, Johan Noren, I think as they go over the top, that can't be the case. Joran's in the leading group. They've just actually lapped one of our first cat riders here. You can see just how quickly they're moving. Now, as you go back, individual riders will pay the price. They cannot afford to stay solo. Just can't happen. You will be in trouble. You've got to be in a group.
Yeah, you have. And this front group of 3 now, Matt, have gone over the top of the final climb on this lap. Now, the run into the finish, we've not talked about it yet, and it's really interesting. So from the top of the final climb, it's a 2.1 kilometre run-in from the top to the finish, but it is not downhill. It drops down, it goes up, it drops down. There's a flat section, and then the climb to the finish. So it's a really technical run into the finish from the top of the final climb today.
So just on our screens just then was Category 2 leaders on the course there. And those Category 2 leaders at the moment, here we go. I think just see the chasing group. So this is Category 3 on the right-hand side of your screen. Category 2 leaders, I think, are about 11 seconds up the road from them. So the leaders were Giuliano Caligula, I think Maglio in the leading group. Then this is Group 2 in Category 2. That means that this is Group 4 on the road. So we have essentially Group 1, which is our leaders of 3. Group 2, which is our chasers in Category 1. Then we have behind the group of leaders in Category 2. Then we have the chasers with Hassan Al-Rumethri in Group number 4. And you can just see how fast our leaders are moving. They are coming through. And this is a really tricky moment in the race, because if you are a rider maybe on the limit behind the lead rider, so if you're, say, rider number 3 and you're coming up behind a group, all of a sudden that leader's pace is going to pick up, because he's going to be able to take that slipstream off that group and go flying through.
I don't think getting past a lapped group is going to be a problem for any of our riders today. This front 3 and the chasing pack are quality esports riders and have raced week in, week out on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. As we can see here, the front 3 now really starting to lap the back of the field as they go into the final lap of the day. On the right-hand side of your screen, the chasing group are not that far behind. You know, I'm looking at that thinking we're about 400 meters behind at the moment. But 400 meters is 35 seconds. So it's really deceptive, because this is a fast course, even though there's constant climbing.
So our leaders coming up towards the end of the lap. This is going to be the end of lap 4 of 5. They've got to take a good look this time round. They're going to be looking and feeling at what this is like, where to go. That climb ahead sign doesn't vary each lap. And for me, that is one of those key marker points on this course, because that is where, if I hadn't unloaded everything, that is where I would be kicking. I would be wanting to unload everything through there. So next time around, they will be finishing at the line. They're on one more lap to go. So 1 lap to go here on MyWhoosh. 3 leaders clear, chasing a group behind on the right of your screen. And I think this group of what is 7 chasers chasing 3 to make up that top 10. Well, only 2 of that chasing group, if they don't catch, will be taking away prize money. That is going to make things very interesting as we come in. And of course, this is where the dilemma comes in for the teammates of the race leaders. 2 of our race leaders have teammates back here. When do they choose to go? When do they think about their own chances versus the chances of their teammate up the road? And that, for me, is key.
Well, Matt, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this group of 7 chasing riders are now 40 seconds behind the leading 3. And I think the leading 3 have probably got a big enough gap now for what goes on in the race for those 7 not to really make an impact on the 3, as long as they keep riding and as long as they keep pushing and they don't just sit up and think that they're clear. So it's going to be a really interesting final lap as we see our riders take to what is the climb number 17 of this 20 climb race, but the top 3 are already over the other side.
So that hilltop is between our leaders and the chasers behind. You can see that the work being done up here by Michael Vink, Phil Graves and SS. They're still pushing out the watts. They're still sitting up at around about that 5 watts per kilo when they come through. They are still keeping the pace nice and high. Behind the riders are on the climb, and you're seeing numbers 7, 8, 9 watts per kilo coming out. Nobody going over into that 10 watts per kilo marker at the moment. They're still at 30 seconds or so. So they're right on the boundary behind. And if that chasing pack behind do one of a number of things, they could come back. 1, work together. 2, just attack the living daylights out of each other, because if they do that, the pace will go up if they're constantly attacking. Or 3, if somebody makes a do or die effort to go across and then drags the pack up. So concerted chase, multiple attacks with no breaks, or somebody on a suicide mission to get back in who drags the whole group up solo. It is doable with that time gap. Would I take it on? Not a snowball's chance in hell would I want to be that rider. Ain't going to happen.
There's a 500-meter gap to close, and whilst 500 meters doesn't sound like a lot, it is a lot when you're racing at this pace. So SS, Vink and Graves are now onto climb number 18 as they go up and over this bridge, and we see the gradient here, top 6.4, 6.5% as they move over climb number 18 of 20 climbs today.
So here we go. That means as they go over the top, we're going to be having 2 climbs to come after this. And then that run into the finish, as Emma's described for us here on Sunday Race Club, our leading riders of Vink, SS and Graves still clear of that chasing group of 7 riders who are regularly now overtaking riders, lapping riders. It adds to the confusion. It adds to the awareness that you need as you come through. You need to know what's going on. So these riders don't just have to put out a world-class performance in terms of physically being able to get the bike around the course and get themselves over that line. They've also got to be aware of what's going on around them, how that is going to influence the ride, not just how they ride, but how their competitors ride, how it's going to respond, and how, as they ride out here on the platform, it is going to change the dynamics of the racing. The group coming over the top are now heading back towards that 45-second marker as they go over the top of the course. So it's yo-yoing. Remember, these time gaps will come in and out depending on the mix of riders, where they are on the course, what the gradient's doing. All those things will change. This, though, is key. This next few kilometres coming into the penultimate hill really, for me, make a big difference. As Emma's already pointed out, between the third to last and the second to last climb is the longest transition, a couple of K. How you keep the power down here could be make or break if you're in that leading group.
It is, as we can see now, the chasing riders on the right-hand side of our screen, now on the descent. They too have finished the climb. They are over the other side as the group is still together. And it's a really interesting mix. There are some such strong riders in this group, Matt. We've got Cutler, we've got Osborne, we've got Knudsen, we've got Neer. You know, these are really class riders. And if this group goes into the finish together, it is going to be one heck of a sprint finish for Group 2 on the road.
Well, it is, because only 2 of them are going to be able to take away prizes. I mean, just see, I think they're starting to get twitchy behind. Remember, only top 5 riders will take away prizes here today. So these riders are working very, very well. So just taking a look at this group, we're just looking to see who is where on the course. And it is going to be really interesting to watch where these riders finish up in this chasing group. The pressure is on and they are getting twitchy. You can tell by the numbers. They're on the flat and they're doing 6-7 watts per kilo. That is race on. Not messing about. It's on behind, and this is where the front group will come under pressure, because if this group behind constantly attack, they could pull that back. But no sign of a suicide mission, no sign that we are going to get a concerted chase behind. I think the teammates are still patrolling that out. So riders at the back there, people like Knudsen at the moment, who is sat in that chasing group behind here. His teammate, Michael Vink, is on the front, sat in that group as well. Jason Osborne, his teammate, guess who? It's Vink. That's 2 riders out of that chasing group, out of action. That is a big number coming out, and they are strong riders. That also means they don't need to go do the work. Why would you? You wouldn't sit on the front and tow the group up. What you might do is keep the pace hot enough to stop an attack going through. Because if you just ride there and just keep it really, really slow, somebody will go off the front.
So we are in with a split screen at the moment. Our front leading 3, 40 kilometres into a 44.4 kilometre race. 200, 300 metres behind Zach Neer, we are watching on the right-hand side of the screen in the group of 7 chasers. You know, the distance is foreshortened when you get onto the climb, but they will shortly go over the top and it will stretch out as we look at these numbers. Graves, SS and Vink on the left-hand side of the screen, still pushing hard. In fact, we're watching Graves really push some strong numbers over this climb before they go up and over. The group with Neer, Cutler, Osborne are now coming onto this climb behind them, and their gradient is still going up, whereas the lead group are now up and over the top. This is going to be so close, I think, and it's going to be a fantastic race, not just between these 1, 2, 3 here to see which order they come over the line in, but that group of 7 behind now, I think, are not going to catch these 3. There you go. I'm sticking my colours to the mast, Matt. I don't think this group are going to get caught, and I think it's going to be a race for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th.
Well, I did say if they went through the line with 30 to 45 seconds, they were right on the edge of that, they go clear. They go into the finish, and I think we're starting to see the precursor to the final attacks here. We have just over 3 kilometers to go, and we're starting to see riders come off the front with maybe 1-2 watts per kilo, and then go to the front at 4.2, 4.3, 4.5. They're yo-yoing. They've got a gap. But you see it on pro racing so many times. If you hesitate too much, if you finesse, if you look at that finish, if you take on your competition too much, you will be in trouble. Now, right hand side of your screen, I want to jump in really quickly here. These are our leaders in category 2. You can see they're not all that far behind the group in front. They are the riders. It's Giuliano Angarito. It is going to be Maglio in this group, and at the moment it looks to me like Giuliano is pushing on up near the front along with Angarita. Caligula's in there as well. So the riders who ride for that Team Italy team regularly are now in that mix. On the left-hand side of your screen, you're also seeing a push on now coming from Phil Graves. So Graves on the front at 7 watts per kilo. He's been closed down by SS. Are we going to see a counter-attack? Because we are on that running. We are now at 2.2 kilometers to go to the finish. This is the little kicker. It's not a climb in its own right. This is that run down in. Who is going to take this out, Emma? I'm not sure that anybody has the power to break clear in this group of 3. I think this will come to a sprint finish between them, and I think they're only just going to get across the line in front of that chase group, because I think that the riders behind are now going to start to seriously race.
Yeah, so let's take a look at this. We've got 300 metres between these 2 groups of riders, Matt, as indeed SS, Vink and Graves are still clear at the front as they go over that final climb of the day and then have that 2.1 kilometre run into the finish. That is not downhill, it's not flat, it is up, down, flat and up into that finish. And I'm with you here. I think these are 3 seriously class riders on the front of this race, and I think it is going to come down to what happens on that uphill run into the finish today.
Definitely seeing a very interesting race. I think if you look at this, it's so close, Emma. I mean, we're talking a few hundred meters, but that is enough, isn't it? Once you've made that group, and look at SS, is SS looking to take away victory here? Is always pushing in over the top, is keeping that pace high. But I think this could be the chance for SS to really go make his mark here. I'm just taking a little bit of a look back through his results. And if we go back through to the beginning of May, SS, I think his best position so far is 3rd. So he's got to equal that as he comes in. He has the potential here to put in his best ride ever. Michael Vink, well, Vink has got a win in the final. He's got a win in a qualifier. In fact, he's got 2 wins in qualifier, so he's a rider who knows how to win. He's a proven winner. And Phil Graves, really interesting. So if you look at the recent results, go back to the finals in May into June, top 5, top 10, yes, no wins. But you go back before that into March and April, Phil Graves has got winning written all over him.
But let's not forget, Graves has been on a training camp, Matt, not too long ago, with training out in Lanzarote. He missed a couple of races to put in a block of training, and let's see whether that has really now come to fruition in his legs today. So I think this is going to be really interesting, and I think it's going to be who has the will to attack before the finish line, or who has got the legs to actually take a massive sprint win on this uphill sprint, as we currently are in with these 3 leading riders at 43.9 kilometres. There is 500 metres left of this race as they swoop round this left-hand bend.
So here on MyWhoosh, here we go into the finish. SS, Vink and Graves, 3 riders at the front. They're being chased behind. The group is really winding it up. They are getting closer, but can they get close enough? We are now into the final 300 meters. Watch for that sign on the road as SS now hits 13 watts per kilo. Can he hold on for a finish? This is for his best result. He's gone early. He's caught him napping, but look at the response. 14.5 watts per kilo coming, and Vink and Graves come over the top. Graves is leading this out. Vink is coming at him, but SS is coming over the top. It's a win for SS, his best result yet. SS takes it. It's Graves and Vink behind, and that is our lead group through. Not far behind, the chasers are on the run in as well. Emma, bring them in.
Yeah, these chasers are coming in, and we are currently in with Norrin, but it is a massive lineup across the line. Wow! Vujassin, I think, takes that, but oh my goodness, there was tyres between them. So, SS from Vink from Graves. What an amazing 1, 2, 3. Vujassin takes the sprint from Knudsen, from Vanden Eckhout, Near, Osborne, Norrin and Cutler from that group of 7. And that group of 7 brought that gap down to 17 seconds in the end as they were sprinting for those top 5 places.
And look at the gap, the time gap between SS in first and Phil Graves in third. They are in next to nothing. So SS came across 0.309 in front of Danish Pavlova Michael Vink, and just over 0.4 of a second in front of Graves. There was nothing to choose between them there. I mean, as Emma said, I don't think that is a tyre width. I think that's the thickness of a bit of rubber wear on your tyre. Nothing to choose between them at all. As we see Mitch Ferry on his racing. Emma, I mean, what a race. And our Category 1 riders today, they came back. They got 17 to within 17 seconds. That was close.
It really was. And I would not have wanted to be the line judge if that was a road race, Matt. Because that group of 7 coming across the line, they were in a line and not a long line, a wide line. That was absolutely amazing. That if that had been a photo finish, that would have been talked about for, I was going to say not minutes, but hours.
Definitely, and you can see, I mean, the times on the side there point so it's 103.01 as they came in as the leaders. 103.01.387 coming through for SS. Mitch Ferry coming in, comes in 11th place, 2 minutes down on our leaders, and a rider like Ferry, who we know is capable of taking a top 3 position comfortably and has done so over the last few months. He comes in 11th place, 2 minutes down, drop from that leading bunch. Good to see Jason Osborne back, and Phil Graves, Emma. I mean, you talked about him going off on that training camp. He's back to his best. He's not been in that sort of top 3 recently. All of a sudden, he's back.
Yeah, and a clever racing by Graves there. Look, take a look at that average watts per kilo. SS 5.2, Michael Vink 5.6, Phil Graves 4.5. We know Graves is a master drafter.
He is indeed. Well, to catch up with all these results, make sure you go onto the MyWhoosh website. It's been an amazing men's race here today on qualifier number 1 in October. We are going to be back with our women's race very shortly. So from myself, Matt Payne, from Emma, stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.